Hello, everybody. Armchair updates with Mr. Tony here of Herb Your Enthusiasm. We're going to break down week one, the matchups coming up in the Armchair Football League. Tony, how you doing on this middle of the day Wednesday?
We are in a fluffy town.
Oh, my God. Is that from the makers of the Fuzzy Pink Unicorn?
Yep, yeah. Same people. It is a raspberry lemonade shandy.
Oh man, it's getting about like kind of the end of the year for those kind of beers, we're still getting into the mid 90s here, but at night we're getting down into the high 50s, low 60s, like really nice desert nights, but still getting hot during the day. Could still maybe grill and drink a shandy, but before you know it, man, that snow is going to be happening.
We're in the 70s and 60s already, just for our highs.
That'd be
like
nice.
Today, it's only 70. So,
like those guys came and did the air conditioner today. We might have like another 2 weeks of maybe actually using it to where, mid 90s during the day still does suck, especially with all the sun that we get. But the nights it's incredible desert nights right now. And it's starting, you can tell it's feeling like football season. It's feeling like September, October, those nice cool mornings. I wear a jacket when I walk the dog in the morning. It kind of feels like playoff baseball. It feels like the start of football. It feels like the start of hockey, my favorite time of the year when all of that comes together. You get football and baseball at the same time. Like, oh, man, you're drafting football teams while you're setting playoff baseball lineups. It's you and I have one more draft to do. I don't know if it's definitely your last of the year. It's probably going to be my last of the year, but we're going to draft with Nationals Tom of the ABL Nationals. You have the 6th pick. I have the 12th pick. What do you think? Real quick, what do you think you're going to do at 6?
I'm hoping for Zeke. I don't know if he drops there. I don't have any shares in him, but it's a realistic. Otherwise, probably Aaron Jones.
Be nice to grab at least one. Yeah, it'd be nice to have a Zeke share.
Yeah.
Have a Zeke share and watch him play.
I think Zach Brewers is in that league as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I believe so. Because I think him and Tom are buddies, if I remember right. I talked to him. They're both like they grew up. They've known each other for a long. They're about our age. Both of them are about our age.
Okay. I did not know that Zach was in that as well. That's pretty cool.
I think. I'm not 100% certain, but they're pretty good friends.
I know it's like all people Tom knows. It's like all people Tom knows and then us, like Tom kind of knows us. But I know it's a lot of Canadians. And, people, Nationals Tom knows. So, yeah, it'd be nice to get a Zeke share. I think I only have one. I have no hope of getting him at 12. I was telling you earlier I might kind of try to go a little bit different with it, diversify my player share a little bit, draft a way that maybe I typically don't for my last draft of the year. I don't know, though. When it comes down to it, I'll probably end up taking the guy I really want instead of trying to goof off and, do something funky. But as for the AFL.
Did we want to save our matchup for last?
Yeah. Let's go ahead. Let's start with Fully Chubbed and the Bulldogs. Let's start with that.
We can do that.
Yeah. Which the Bulldogs is Don, and was Fully Chubbed actually? Is that Cal?
I think it's his son.
It's a father-son matchup in week 1. I'll be damned.
I believe so.
That is cool.
Yeah.
We did not do that on purpose. Or wait, no, did you?
I think they randomly got drawn to the West together because Fully Chubbed is. I'm pulling it up. Pretty sure it's Cal, but I don't know. Yeah, Cal. And I'm pretty sure Cal is his son.
Yeah, that's father-son matchup.
Yeah, because Dalvin Cook is Dwight, the Mets.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Wow, very cool. Okay.
Right off the get-go.
So let's see real quick. What did the Tracks? So Tracks gives a pretty big edge actually to Cal. It's like the biggest edge of the week. It's giving to Cal. What do you think, just looking at it on its face?
Well, I think that just looking at it, and I looked at his bench, I'm going to guess he's going to put a different flex in that's going to give him at least 10 more points. Because he has Gus Edwards.
Oh, okay. Wait, who is this? Cal or Don? This is
Don.
Okay.
Bulldog.
Right. He's got Dobbins and Edwards. Yeah, he had the handcuff.
Yeah. Which is good. And then because he has McKissick now just sitting there.
Yeah, he probably sticks Dobbins in there.
Yeah.
And does he have anybody? Because that Randall Cobb wide receiver spot is really not good.
He has Jamison Crowder, Marvin Jones, Deshaun Jackson.
I don't know. I mean, Cobb could be okay. You know, Rodgers wanted Cobb back. He could be all right. But then Cal's got Adams, you know, so.
I mean, he could even start Eric Ebron.
Suppose he could.
As his flex.
As his flex. Yeah, as his flex. Yeah, I'm more looking at that. That's the big weak point that I see.
You're right with the 3 wide receivers because he has Cobb and Sorry, I see what you're saying.
And that's going to be, and then of course probably Waller's a big advantage over Goddard.
Yes.
Even though Waller, I don't know if has he ever practiced again?
He has no limitations. It looks like. I mean, there's no red flag. It says he already returned to practice, is what the blurb said.
Should be fine.
And this was as of the 21st. Yeah. And
I think I like Jalen Hurts over Tua. I mean, I think I do. I like the quarterbacks, and I think I like the running backs for Don as well. Mm-hmm. But it's the receivers
that's
the
a
tight
huge
ends. Yeah, the receivers and tight end. Cal gets a big nod.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to find, if I remember right, I don't think you're going to find a better receiving group. That's close.
But, I mean, the super flex, I think I like Ryan over Carr. You know, the Raiders suck.
Yep.
Baltimore's a pretty good defense, and the Falcons are probably going to have to throw a bunch. So that game in particular is going to be big for Don, that Eagles-Falcons game, because he has both quarterbacks going.
And I think that game will be more of a shootout where, I mean, we know Baltimore likes to play the slow it down, run the ball. Like, Baltimore's comfortable 16-13. That Falcons-Philly game could be 45-42.
Yeah, and both of those guys could be forced to throw a whole bunch.
Yes.
So I think maybe I don't know, Trax likes – I think overall I like Cal in the matchup, but I wouldn't write Don off, especially not with that super flex spot, because I think Derek Carr sucks. They just cut John Brown, who a lot of people were thinking might be a pretty good receiver for the Raiders this year, but they just cut him, I think, at his request. But the Raiders, I don't have a lot of faith in the Raiders. I don't have very much Raider fantasy.
Well, and something else, I mean, like we said, we give the edge to Don there already, but are we sure, like, Nick Chubb's the guy, but Kareem Hunt still is there and is going to have a role? And
it's just more – I feel like that's going to be another throwing game. Like, Baker's going to have to throw a bunch because the Chiefs are going to score a bunch of points, and Chubb is not the receiving back. You know, Kareem Hunt is the receiving back. Chubb will catch some balls, but I don't think it's going to be a super run-heavy game for the Browns. It could be. The Chiefs' run defense I don't think is amazing, but I think it's going to be another situation where the guy's throwing a lot.
Who's to say we know what San Fran's going to do? I mean, they have Trey Sermon, and it's not like Raheem Mostert's some young guy that's their future.
He is super fast. I like Mostert. We were talking earlier, I have a bunch of 0 RB teams. I have a lot of Mostert because of that. He was a guy going in that 5, 6, 7 round range. So I'm kind of hoping personally that he goes off. But that's for me and a lot of other leagues. Clearly, I don't have him in this one. I don't know. I do think that probably the matchup is Cal's to lose. That receiving core is just really, really good. And his running backs aren't bad. I just don't know if Hurts and Matty Ice are going to be enough to overcome that.
he has enough boom potential, like with that matchup of having both those quarterbacks, that I could easily see Don winning. But if you're telling me to make a prediction, I think the safer prediction with the safer floor is Cal to win.
Yeah, I agree. Sorry, Don.
Okay.
Gonna lose to your son in week 1.
Then should we move on to your dad next?
Yeah, the Garopalos Islands against the ABL Mets. This is Dwight, and he is Dalvin Cooking. I didn't see what Trax thought of this matchup. I think the Trax has the rest of them fairly close.
Trax has 142 for Dalvin Cooking and 133 for Garopalos Island.
Huh. So that's a 9-point spread.
Now, your dad has plenty of quarterbacks to choose from.
Yes, he does.
Which is not a bad thing in Superflex. And I think I even said it on the preview show that Tyrod could be a starter, and look what happened.
He is the starter.
Like, I don't think they could just sit on Deshaun Watson.
I think they will. I don't think he's playing this year. I don't think he's going to be taking any snaps, at least not for the Texans.
Mm-hmm. And, he has now, four starting quarterbacks.
And so far, I think he's probably got his lineup the way he wants it. He's going to play Cousins, and he's going to play Tannehill. And for starting quarterback, you got to like Brady over Tannehill, but Cousins over Jones, I think, by quite a bit, at least for me. I think Daniel Jones sucks, and the Denver defense is pretty good. So I don't have a lot of faith in Daniel Jones in week 1, at least.
I will say, just because Cousins is not playing in prime time.
Yeah.
If it was a prime time match.
It's like the Bengals. So I heard this today on the CBS pod. The Bengals played man coverage the 11th most in the NFL last year, and Kirk Cousins destroys man coverage. It's like the only thing he's good at. Like, those are the only good games he has, is when he eats up man coverage. So he could have a great game against the Bengals.
He has 2 great receivers to throw to. So,
well, some people think he has three great receivers to throw to, but at the very least, he should eat up the Bengals and their man coverage, assuming they play. I don't know why you would. If Kirk Cousins kills man coverage, why would you play man coverage against him? But the Bengals play a lot of it, so it's just part of their game plan.
Something I just noticed is, we said Cousins is a huge edge over Jones, correct? Now,
I think he is, at least this week, yeah.
Now, if you look, Dalvin Cooking has Dalvin Cook and Adam Thielen.
That's true.
So there could a counterbalance there at that matchup, he's going to offset some of those points.
Yeah, he's going to, Thielen's going to be good for 7 or 8 catches and whatever he does with them, maybe a touchdown and 80, 90 yards. So that's, offsetting Cousins' points, and then the dump offs to Dalvin Cook. He's not completely inadequate in the passing game. So that's a pretty good point. He is better than Jones, but when a good chunk of his points are probably going to go to 2 of the guys that your opponent is starting, that is a little rougher.
Now, I don't see a huge edge for either team, really, that much in running back. Just as I think Saquon will be fine for the first week.
Well, similarly, let's say that real quick. Garoppolo's has Saquon and Kenny Golladay, and Dwight has Daniel Jones.
So the same.
So these guys each have like the quarterback, and then the other guy has like 2 of the primary targets, 2 of the skill players in the offense. So and if Daniel Jones doesn't throw a touchdown to Saquon, if it doesn't go to Sterling Shepard, it's probably going to Kenny Golladay, because it ain't going to Evan Ingram, because Evan Ingram sucks. So,
Yep.
Kenny Galladay is the big play receiver in that offense, and obviously Saquon. You're hoping for Saquon to catch 60, 70, 80 balls, like a healthy Saquon. So there's a lot of Jones points going to Saquon. So that's really interesting. This particular matchup has Cousins and then Cook and Thielen and then Daniel Jones, Saquon and Kenny Galladay. That's you almost can't draw it up any better than that. That's pretty good.
No. So, I mean, with all that said, looking at the groups of running backs and receivers, I think it's almost a push there with all things considered.
Because I think I like Cook and CEH over Barkley and Davis, and that's more a reflection on Mike Davis than it is like Saquon. Even though Saquon might be on a pitch count, like he's going to play, but they may limit his snaps week 1, and they may limit his snaps week 2. And Galladay's coming off an injury, so it's like the Garoppolo's team looks real nice, especially when you take the Jones throw into Saquon and Galladay into it. But those guys are both hurt, and they're both, everybody knows, are not going to be 100%. So I think you got to give the nod to Dalvin Cook and CEH over Saquon and Davis, at least.
Now, I like Mike Davis a lot this year just because of cost. I don't like the player, but I like that you're getting a starting. I don't know how many people have looked at the Falcons' depth chart after Mike Davis. It's
a wasteland. Yeah.
Yes. He is the guy without question. It's not a shitty team. I don't
know. They got Calvin Ridley. They got Pitts. Yeah. They got Mike Davis. So maybe that opens up for the dump offs. Maybe he ends up being a PPR kind of guy. I don't know how much he really catches the ball, but he's been good. He's shown that he can be good. He's just not an RB1, and he's not the RB1 here. But
no,
if you're counting on a gimpy Saquon and Mike Davis, that's what kind of compounds it a little bit. Like, I don't, on his face and for his cost, sure. But you're putting him up against Dalvin Cook and CEH, just looking at the running backs. I think I like Cook and CEH. And I probably like the receivers.
I'm going to be interested to see what the Chiefs do with CEH this year.
Man, you and a lot of people, a lot of people that took him as an RB1, still taking him in the 3rd round of drafts because he's the Chiefs running back. And, look what Andy Reid has done with his running backs in the past. Look at Brian Westbrook and look at what's his face, So I
know, but every time.
But he's done it, he's done it. But he didn't do it last year, And was that bad touchdown luck, or was he only as good as he was because of the touchdowns he scored? Like, we know the Chiefs are going to be a high-powered offense. So, to not want the lead running back in what you think is going to be one of the highest-powered offenses, it's kind of runs like counterintuitive to what you would want in fantasy football. But a lot of guys were out on him coming into draft season. A lot of guys were down on him, calling him a potential bust, which sure he is, but everybody's a potential bust in the first 3 rounds.
It's probably all relative to cost. I'd say some of those statements could be, are you drafting CEH in the 1st round or the 3rd round? If you're drafting him in the
last year, he was going in the 1st.
There are some leagues I drafted in where he went in the 1st.
So that had to be pretty early on, though, right?
No, I think that one I was in last night, he went in the 1st. That one that I did that I put the picture of. Yeah. I'm pretty sure he went in the 1st round of that league.
Jeez. Well, that's kind of an outlier. I mean, that's like, I think the majority, he's going towards the end of the 2nd. If you have the guy, at the 2-3 turn or whatever, maybe he goes at the end of 2nd, beginning of the 3rd, or he lasts until the middle of the 3rd. But I think by and large, his 1st round days in a if we were looking at NFC or whatever, he's not going in the 1st. He didn't go Where did he go in ours? I don't even remember, but certainly it wasn't the first. But are you going to be like, what does he need? This week, all he needs to do is be better than Mike Davis. So I think he can do that. I think he can do that. But, to justify a third round ADP or whenever it was that Dwight took him, I guess I don't know that it was the third. Looking at his team, he had to take Cook pretty high. He had to take Hopkins pretty high.
There's no way he took CEH in the first and got Cook in the second.
Yeah, that did not happen. So I like Dwight's team. Dwight's got a good-looking team there, actually. The potential top 5 tight end and Hawkinson. He's not as good as Kelsey, of course, but I like the receivers, at least stacked up against what he's playing this week. I think I agree with the Tracks prediction. I think I would give the slight nod to Dwight.
I'm just taking a look at Dwight's bench real quick. There's not much there, really.
Now, that said, Kelsey could easily have the kind of game that you spend like a first-round pick on Kelsey for. He could have that 150-yard, 2-touchdown, 8, 9, 10 catch kind of game and really, really be that leg up that you're like paying for him to be. But I don't know, with a limited Saquon and maybe a limited Diggs. I don't know exactly what the deal is. And a not 100% Galladay. I think he's just not healthy enough. If Dwight's guys do what they can do, it's always a big if in football. You look at it on paper and it's different than what it ends up being.
Now I think that he has a huge edge at flex. Trax has it 50-50. But I think Robbie Anderson is light years better than Chase Edmonds will be. And also I'm saying that for this week. I believe in this stuff. Some people don't. But Robbie Anderson with Carolina is playing the New York Jets.
Revenge game.
Yeah. New quarterback. Who is it down there? Same quarterback that's revenge game too. Is it Darnold?
Darnold revenge game.
So like double revenge game, quarterback, wide receiver, sticking it to the Jets.
I could see it. I could. I mean, and Robbie Anderson is no slouch, and I think he's going to play more in the slot this year instead of being that straight down the field speed guy. And that could lead to more catches. I think he's kind of flip-flopping, like with DJ Moore is going to be the outside guy and Anderson's going to be the slot guy. Or, God, maybe I have that backwards.
But either,
I don't know.
Back and forth.
I like them. I like the Carolina. I like Carolina defense as a stream in week 1 against the Jets. Obviously you love McCaffrey, but I like Anderson. I like DJ Moore. I kind of am high on Carolina. They're minus 5.5 coming into the week. I might take them as one of my survivor picks.
The thing also to flip to the other side of that is, do we even really know what Arizona is going to do with the backfield?
I think it's going to be a two-headed guy, but Edmonds is going to be the passing downs, the receiver back, and Connor will be the running downs and change of pace guy. But I don't know. He didn't draft Edmonds to be the RB1 or 2 or anything. I think he's a decent flex. You could do worse, Who are they playing? They're playing Tennessee. Now, that's a decent defense.
I guess for me, I'm just saying for this week, I think Robbie Anderson is way better than Chase Edmonds because of the matchup, the revenge game, the yada, 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 where Edmonds, it's week 1. We have no idea what the role will be. Tennessee's not the best matchup for a running back.
Isn't he kind of small too? Isn't Edmonds like a little bit on the smaller side? Yeah. So, you have James Conner, who, yes, is hurt all the time. And if Conner does go down, it's just the Chase Edmonds show. So, he could.
He's 5'9", 210.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. He's 210 is a decent weight, but still 5'9". He's not a big guy. He's a scat back. I think if we're calling the matchup, I do like it for Dalvin Cooking.
Yep, I'll agree with that.
I do.
I would agree with that. And then it looks like your next one would be Memphis Pharaohs and Game of Jones. Is that correct?
Here we go. So this is Cleveland Mark and the combo of Josh and Squibb.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Who will probably change their team name again before we start again.
What does Track say about this one?
Trax has this one as 137 for Memphis Pharaohs and 127 for Game of Jones. So 10-point.
Man, I don't know. Because Mark's got a really nice. He's got a great 1-2 punch with the flex and super flex with Stafford and Mahomes.
Yep.
But the two receivers, Ridley and Robinson, are both dynamite, especially in a PPR. But Laviska Shenault is like a could be a hidden gem, man. He could be the reception leader on that team, like out of the gate. I think. I think
new quarterback.
These are two very tough matchups. Very very tough. You got to give the quarterbacks to Mark. You got to give it to Mahomes and Stafford, right? Like, Kyler is great, but then the second one is Mac Jones. I know they love him. That Squibb and Josh love him. The Pats fans love him, but I'm giving the nod to Stafford over Jones, especially against the Bears defense.
Yeah, this isn't the 85 Bears defense.
Yeah, and the run defense is good. I think with the weapons that he's going to have at his disposal, I think Stafford's in for a pretty big year. He's had really big years in the past with fewer weapons. The running backs are tough. I don't like Zach Moss at all.
I agree.
Zeke is awesome. Damian Harris has shot up the depth chart with Michelle gone. He's pretty much the guy there. Najee Harris is the guy in Pittsburgh. I think you probably got to give the slight nod to the game of Jones with the running backs.
I'm still holding out hope that Harris is not the guy, but he probably will be because I have Benny Snell and McFarland.
It's Harris, man. I thought you meant Damian Harris. No, it's Najee Harris. He's the guy. And I think
I haven't followed much of them in the preseason. So.
I think if he gets hurt or something, it's probably Jalen Samuels, right? It's probably him. And
I don't
then
think he's there.
Is he not?
I think it's just McFarland and Benny Snell.
Well, then it's definitely not Jalen Samuel. All right. That's why I'm not good at football.
Let me see. They say he was added to the practice squad actually 2 days ago.
So he's not.
No, you are smarter than I am. You kept up with the up-to-date news 2 days ago. Added to the practice squad.
I did not. Well, that's not a good thing though. That doesn't mean he's the next guy in line.
No, that's true.
Yeah,
that's true. So yeah, I think it's easy. We can say Game of Jones has the running backs.
Yeah. Now, what do you think for the receipt? Like for the disregard the third receivers, Laviska and Jalen Waddle. Like either one of them could conceivably go off, but the first two for each: Calvin Ridley, Allen Robinson, Justin Jefferson, Terry McLaurin. What side do you take on that? Just for this week, what side do you take on that?
I was waiting to use this, but do you have a quarter in your pocket?
I don't.
Like literally, this is a true coin flip in my eyes. Like I think Allen Robinson and Calvin Ridley are the true alphas there. I also think Justin Jefferson is the number one in Minnesota, and McLaurin. He has Fitzpatrick, and Fitzpatrick will lean on people he trusts. And I think he'll lean on McLaurin. I don't think he's getting enough love. In PPR, McLaurin could still do 7 for 70, and that's more than serviceable.
The only thing that would give me pause is Allen Robinson going up against the Rams.
Whoever their top corner, yeah.
Yeah,
They've got
it's Jalen Ramsey,
yeah.
right? And I think if I remember correctly, I saw some kind of blurb about Allen Robinson's history against Jalen Ramsey, and it's not good. Robinson doesn't get shut down by a lot of guys, but he does get shut down by Jalen Ramsey. I hope I'm not wrong on that because we're live as I say this, but it's something about whoever it is that he's likely to be matched up against on the Rams, he gets shut down by in their career matchups. That's the only thing that would make me give the nod to Game of Jones this week. Is that Robinson could easily get shut down for like 4 for 30. Like he could have one of those games where he scores 7 points.
I also think I said this in the chat. If you think Kirk Cousins is off on prime time, Andy Dalton's just as close.
Yeah. That's the other thing. It's Andy Dalton throwing to him,
yeah.
And maybe they switch. Maybe they make the quarterback switch at halftime. Maybe that's when it happens. But
first drive,
he's still got the Rams defense to contend with.
Yep.
The Bears offensive line still has to mess with the Rams defensive line. The secondary is great, and Robinson could easily get shut down. He could have maybe his worst game that he's going to have all year. He could have it week 1 with Dalton in there and going up against Jalen Ramsey. Robinson could look like a bum. After week 1 might be a great time to try to buy low on Allen Robinson. If you have anybody in a league that's panicking already, guys do that, especially in football leagues. Guys will panic after 1 week. If Robinson puts up less than double-digit points, somebody could want to dump his ass, and you could get in there and scoop up Allen Robinson, and he could end up winning a league for you. I might be getting ahead of the curve a little bit, but
hopefully Mark's that guy because I'll take him on as a Bears fan.
Yeah, I don't think Mark is that guy. Mark's probably not that guy. Mark seems pretty sharp. I think most of the guys in this league seem pretty sharp.
But yeah, also one more thing to add on to that real quick. The flip side that you could mention that also even swings even more is I think the Chargers versus the Redskins is going to be similar to that Detroit or the Philadelphia-Atlanta game we said. I could see that one being 42-45. Like
I could see it being real close, and Vegas agrees. It's only a 1 point either way. I think it's like Chargers +1 or Skins +1. It's almost a dead even game, so they're predicting it to be close.
And I think it's going to be a lot of back and forth. I think there'll be a lot of back and forth.
It could be a rough week for Herbert. It could be a rough week for Herbert, which I think will help me against you, if I'm not mistaken. It could be a rough week for all the pretty boy Justin Herbert.
Now, tight end, I think you got to give it to Mark.
You got to give it to Mark Andrews, yeah. And
who knows what they're going to do with, like in New England, you do have John, but you also have Hunter Henry. Who knows which tight end?
You have the running. Who knows what Mac Jones actually wants to do? We'll see what Belichick, schemes for him and everything. But I think it's clear that Mark Andrews is tight end 4 at the very least, and could easily probably be better than Darren Waller. He could probably easily be better than George Kittle if Jackson really has to lean on him, and if he catches the touchdowns, he's shown that he can be good enough. He could be tight end 2. And I just think this week he's better than Jonnu Smith. I just think he's better than Jonnu Smith. So I give Memphis the nod in tight end. I don't know the deal with Brandon Ayuk.
It's a hamstring, and he's just now like running routes and catching passes as of 2 days ago.
So Mark could play. Go ahead.
There's no one else. Like really, I looked at his bench. There's no one else that jumps.
He could play Jalen Reagor if you believe that the Eagles and Falcons are going to be a shootout. He could play Jalen Reagor, and maybe grab a touchdown or something. I think he's a little bit of a hidden like waiver wire guy in a normal league, but he could be good at least this first week in a high scoring matchup with Atlanta.
For sure. But I mean, looking as is right now, I would give the edge to Kareem Hunt over either one of those.
Probably, yeah. And then the big edge for Stafford over Jones. I think it's going to be close. I'm
going to agree with Trax. I think Mark wins.
I think the quarterback play ends up being a little too much. I think Mahomes probably throws a lot against Cleveland at home. I think they want to, they're going to score a lot of points. And I think Stafford really outscores Mac Jones. Maybe I guess there is kind of the fear that the Rams take a big early lead and they can just run the ball. They can hand it off to Henderson and Michelle a bunch, and Stafford doesn't have to do all that much. I guess that's a legitimate fear. They are heavily favored over the Bears, so I guess that lingers a little bit. But I still think Matt Stafford always gets his attempts. He always gets his yards. You got to think he's going to be better than the rookie.
Well, and this is prime time. The Rams want to show
Sunday Night Football.
Were correct. Yeah. They were correct in giving up on Jared Goff and going to
after giving him a huge deal, after giving him a big contract, then cutting bait on him. Yeah, I think the quarterbacks are just a little too much. If it's going to end up being anything that gives it to Game of Jones, it's going to be Stafford not having to throw much and Allen Robinson getting shut down in that same game by the Rams defense. And that maybe ends up hurting Mark enough, and then enough goes right for Josh and Squibb to where they pull away. Maybe that Washington Chargers game is a big shootout, and McLaurin goes off for 120 and 2 touchdowns. Jefferson eats up Cincinnati. It could happen. Najee runs. Buffalo's got a good defense, but he's going to get his carries. But should be interesting. I think slight nod to Mark, though. I agree. Let's go to Sam and Jeff. How about Sam and Jeff here?
This is the closest matchup for the week.
What does Track say about this one?
Run MCM is 141.66, and Moon Man is 141.58.
Oh, my God. So if a guy breathes the wrong way or falls the right way one way or another for an extra yard, that's the matchup.
Yep, that's it pretty much right there.
So what do we think about it? Straight off the top, I think you've got to like Lamar Jackson over Ben Roethlisberger.
And Baker and Joe Burrow are kind of a coin flip because we don't know how Burrow is going to respond with the long layoff.
Like Baker this week. I think he's going to have to throw a lot against the Chiefs. I think I might give the slight nod to Baker. I think I do.
Yep, and I'm in agreement there. So I will say the edge goes to Jeff in the quarterbacks.
And man, the running backs are tough. Like Sam has CMC, of course, but the second guy is Josh Jacobs against a really good Baltimore defense, and it's Josh Jacobs. Jeff has Kamara and Joe Mixon.
So something this has popped up for me. This was at yesterday afternoon. Jacobs was absent for the second straight practice on Tuesday for unspecified reasons and isn't expected. Undisclosed. Now, I've always hinted towards people, I think he's going to get some suspension for that DUI. Undisclosed could be the DUI suspension, and they just haven't announced it.
That's interesting.
Because he had a DUI literally the last day of the season. It was 3 hours after the game was over. I
totally forgot about that, man. It's
so long ago that it happened that people forget. It's just a DUI. I'm like, they might crack down on it because it was so close after the season, yada, yada. And they brought in, what was it, Kenyon Drake, I think?
Yeah. Gave him $5 million.
If they believed in Josh Jacobs, why are they bringing in Kenyon Drake?
Well, why are they bringing him in and giving him $5 million? They're not giving him $5 million to just sit on the bench.
Yeah,
$5 million is real money in football.
I just am going with the whole, follow all those tea leaves of why are they signing someone else? And you have this young running back who's supposed to be your future. They didn't have to say anything about him getting suspended because it happened right after the season was over. They could wait till now. They could be hiding from the media that he's really suspended the first 3 games and we're not going to tell anybody until we have to. They don't have to tell
Well,
anybody.
that's got to be coming up soon. They got to tell you. They got to say it soon, don't they? Like they have to disclose that because he has to be on like the suspended list or whatever.
He could be coach's decision inactive.
Yeah.
It could be one of those. Who knows? Because I don't think he's on that.
Got some other running backs, but nobody that's going to replace. Even if you weren't high on Jacobs, he doesn't have anybody to replace Jacobs.
He has David Montgomery.
Right, he's got Montgomery in the flex, but then who are you going to flex after that?
Fournette,
maybe
Brown,
maybe Cole Beasley,
Christian Kirk.
Yeah, the flex gets a little weak. I kind of like Gabriel Davis.
Yeah,
but,
I like it, and long term too. I like Gabriel Davis as well.
Yeah, but still,
I think there's something
taking a hit if he lost him. He would be taking a significant hit.
Just real quick on the long-term thing with Davis, I think he's the only receiver that Buffalo has after this year, like signed. Like Diggs is a free agent, Beasley is a free agent, and stuff like that.
Well, and he was good too. He didn't have that many targets, that many fewer targets inside the 20 than Diggs did. Like Allen likes him, and he was going criminally low in drafts. Like I'm disappointed I don't have more Gabriel Davis. But anyway, yeah, you have to give the receivers to Sam. I think Kupp, Metcalf, Debo over Beckham, Corey Davis, and Juju. I like the run CMC side there, probably by quite a bit.
Yeah, I will say this: if anyone wants to pizza bet it, I don't think Odell Beckham's the number one receiver in Cleveland.
Who is it instead?
Jarvis Landry.
Jarvis has never been the number one guy. You mean like when you say number one, you mean like lead the team in receptions?
And fantasy points.
Okay, I could see that. I could see it being Jarvis. I could see that.
Just because how many years is really all we have with Odell Beckham, and I get so tired of it. Oh, sweet, he made the one-handed catch. That's it.
Really, ever since he left the Giants, he's been kind of meh,
Yeah.
And he's been hurt a lot. He's always hurt.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like when he's on the field, he's good. I just don't trust him to stay on the field.
Well, Jarvis could have a big game against the Chiefs. If you're going to play any DFS, Jarvis could have a big game against the Chiefs. He easily could catch like two touchdowns against the Chiefs. But still, I still like the Sam receivers over the Jeff. Jeff's got the tight end. He's got Kittle over Logan Thomas. You got to like Jeff with the tight end. Normally, yeah, we'll go to Carson this week again because of the Rams defense. I think the Rams are maybe the best defense in football, and I think the Bears are going to have a real tough time.
We also don't know with the Jacobs thing that could force Sam's hand to move Montgomery up to running back.
Yeah, he traded away some of that running back depth, and if for whatever reason he doesn't have Jacobs, all of a sudden he looks really thin at running back, where that used to be a big. I mean, he did a good job in trading from position of strength and shoring up his weaknesses. Like I like the deals he made, but like most of us now, he's a little thin at running back. If a guy goes down, he's a little thin. Say the same thing with a lot of teams.
I'm going to give Jeff the edge here just because the quarterbacks.
Yeah, I think the 1-2 punch, the Kamara mix and punch, I think is going to score big this week in particular. I like both guys long term, but the questionability of Jacobs, not knowing what you're going to get there. Baltimore defense is tough. The Raiders suck.
Yeah,
I like
edge.
The Moon Man.
The huge edge at tight end as well.
I think I like Jeff. I think it's going to just be a little much to overcome Lamar and Baker.
Jeff. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, not that Ben and Burrow are like slouches, but this particular matchup, I think Baker's going to throw a lot at Kansas City, and Jackson is going to do Jackson things. He's either going to run all over the Raiders, or he's going to hit Mark Andrews for a couple, or whatever it might be. But he's going to be good. It's prime time. It's the crappy Raiders. I like the matchup this week for Jeff.
And also the other thing, and we finally ran into this again. Jeff has Mixon. Sam has Burrow.
Yeah.
So there's going to be some cannibalization, or
any of the PPR aspect of Mixon's game is going to get Burrow points, but similarly, when Burrow throws a dump to Mixon and he runs it for 60 yards, that's going to be points for Jeff as well as Sam. So
yep,
yeah, that's tough, but I think I agree with you. I like Jeff in this matchup.
Okay, now these last three are super close. So we've got two more, right? Because
we've got Vince and Harry.
Yep. This has Vince at 128.09 and Harry at 127.3.
Wow. Okay. Now we're into the nitty-gritty a little bit.
Yeah.
When I look at it, I quite like Harry's team, and for me, I don't think it's particularly close. I'm surprised that Trax has it as close as it is. I really like Harry's team. I like him in this matchup this week. I think he's got quarterback. Go ahead.
Yep. No, it's just that they have Russell Wilson just a notch below Allen and Sam Darnold just a little bit below Trevor Lawrence. The big swing in this game could be who is the true number one, because Cincinnati has this problem, but I think Pittsburgh does too. Who outproduces the other in the wide receiver, Chase Claypool or Deontay Johnson? If one of those two steps up and is the number one in Pittsburgh, a lot of people say it's going to be Deontay, but would anybody be shocked if it's Chase Claypool?
I think we're hoping it's Deontay, right? We've got Deontay in the dynasty that we're in together. Yeah, we hope it's Deontay.
And he has probably the sneakiest wide receiver there in A.J. Brown. This is Harry again. He has Jamar Chase.
Harry is using Nyheim Hines as his RB2. That is that's probably the big downfall of Harry's team, is losing ETN, and now he's playing Nyheim Hines as his RB2.
And Myles Gaskin.
Yeah, his RB1 is Myles Gaskin, but his RB2 really falls off. Like when you look at DeAndre Swift up against Nyheim Hines, it's Swift by a country mile. Even against a really good San Francisco defense, it's Swift by a mile.
What about Derrick Henry against Myles Gaskin?
Well, yeah, it's the running backs that are making this matchup so close. Or you can say like Vince's good running backs or the lack of running back for Harry, but that's what's really evening this out, because the receivers, I love Harry's receivers. Mm-hmm. Probably like tight end for Vince, and that's probably right. Fant over Gesicki, that's not, you wouldn't be out of line to say Fant over Gesicki at all. I think I like Fant.
No. The thing with Harry is it'll probably work out but there is a lot of question marks for me with all four of those receivers. And they're not major question marks, but let me break it out. A.J. Brown. Is Julio Jones going to affect him that much? Do we know if A.J. Brown will still be the A.J. Brown we know, or will the veteran presence of Julio get more catches?
I know you're asking more like rhetorically, but I'm going to answer as if you're asking me. I think he will, because A.J. Brown is not about getting 150 targets. Like, he's about extreme efficiency with the targets that he does get. So I think that he, barring injury, and he's already got a little flag next to his name, but I don't think he needs 130, 140, 150 targets to be a number one or a top 5 or a top 3 receiver. He's so incredibly efficient with the balls that he catches and the targets that he does get. I think Julio there to take a little bit of heat off of him is only going to help instead of hurt. But that's just me personally.
Yep. And all these, like, that's probably going to be the same answer for all 4 of these questions. But Jamar Chase, you still have T. Higgins, you still have Tyler Boyd, you still have Joe Mixon there. I mean, he is a rookie.
And he's been dropping a ton of balls in camp and preseason. He's got stone hands.
He could be their clear-cut number 1 because people say he has the most talent. But there is that little bit and I'm just saying this for week 1 because all of these guys have new situations, kind of, except Deontay. Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton's coming. Cortland Sutton was the guy last year until he tore his ACL.
He was supposed to be.
And then you have Noah Fant as well.
Yeah, healthy Sutton, healthy Fant. You got to assume eats into some targets, right?
Yep. And then the Steelers have that same problem, I think, on paper that the Bengals have. Chase Claypool, Deontay Johnson, Juju Smith-Schuster.
Yeah.
Deontay is probably the most talented. Go ahead.
Well, right what you were just saying. I think Deontay is the most talented, but you can't write off, if you think Najee Harris is a second-round pick, how many touches do you think he's going to get? And then how many times is Roethlisberger going to throw the ball as well? Like they're only going to run so many plays. I don't do all the break. I'm sure if Josh was here, he'd probably have the breakdown on how many plays they are likely to run on each side or whatever. But just off the top of my head, it makes sense to maybe take a step back on the Pittsburgh guys and think that there's not enough to go around.
No slouch either. They have capable guys at every position. It's not like you can say with A.J. Brown, I'm sorry, how many times are they going to pass Derrick Henry the ball? Less than 10.
Not many.
So, he's not going to eat into the target share of A.J. Brown. Eric Ebron, Najee Harris, all those guys, there's only one football to go around.
It's kind of the same with the Broncos. Javonte Williams is getting a ton of hype lately as being a receiving kind of back. Like he could be another really sneaky Bronco piece that maybe I like Jerry Jeudy. I'm high on Jerry Jeudy, but you can't ignore a healthy Fant, a healthy Sutton, and incoming Williams. It's hard to ignore that.
This could be the first time we'll pull. The other matchup, I was comfortable saying, okay, Jeff had that clear edge.
Yeah.
This one, there's so many back and forth with one so weak at the one position that the other counterbalances it. And the quarterbacks, there's a slight edge, but it's not an amazing – Russell Wilson versus Josh Allen, I think you can argue is a push.
I think it's more about the teams they're playing. They're playing Pittsburgh and they're playing Indy. Allen is at least at home, right? So maybe slight nod, But Seattle's targets, you got one guy throwing to DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, the other guy throwing to Diggs and Gabriel Davis. Give the edge there to Russ Wilson. But gun to my head, Josh Allen probably puts up more fantasy points in week 1.
But I don't think it's by comfortable
No, it's not by 20 or anything. Yeah, not at all.
No. And then the quarterback twos both have question marks. It is a rookie quarter. It's Trevor Lawrence. He's still a rookie. And Sam Darnold on
revenge game. Revenge game, Sam Darnold.
So you could give us if you want to say gun to your head, are you going to say slight edge to Sam Darnold?
Well, I know you will because you think Robbie Anderson's going to go off.
Yeah.
So that means Sam Darnold's going to be good, right? Or decent at least.
And Trevor Lawrence is good and he's talented. I'm not going to deny any of that. And he, number 1 pick, all that fun stuff. But he is still a rookie quarterback.
He is, but man, if there's a week for him to go off, it's against the shitty Texans in week 1.
Yep, that's true.
Really set the pace. Just have him throw. And have him light up the Texans and get that confidence going. They traded Minshew because they didn't want him to have anybody barking behind him. They wanted to be sure that hey, man, you're secure. You have the job. So week 1, let him throw all over the Texans and just obliterate them. I don't know who is it? Urban Meyer? Who is it?
Yep. Urban Meyer.
I don't really know much about college. I don't know how he was, but if he's that kind of coach or whatever. But
his offensive schemes at every stop he had, Utah, Ohio State, Florida. I mean, when he was in college, he coached Tebow. When he was in college, he's used to that dual threat. Like he's always had that at Ohio State because I've followed them Big Ten. He had some, I forgot who was he was a successful NFL quarterback. Who was the Utah quarterback? Alex Smith. Alex Smith, he was a Utah product, I believe.
Okay.
And he was under Urban Meyer as well. So, I mean, he's coached a lot of NFL quarterbacks.
All right. I think if you're making me pick, I like the hairy matchup. I like the guy from New Zealand in a tight matchup, but I do think that he gets it done this week.
Oh, I'll say I like him in a tight matchup, even though I broke down every receiver and did the what if game. But I think there's enough. But it's just to say all of them could make the best receiver group in the league, or they could all fall flat on their face, or it's 50-50, and he has enough hits that, But
it's going to be one of those weeks. It's like who goes off and who takes like an unexpected zero or whatever. I think Naeem Hines could really hurt him.
If all 4 of those guys hit, he has the best wide receiver corps in the league.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Because they're all young.
That's a big if.
Yeah. Well, I guess we only have one matchup to go.
All right, yeah. Let's save the best for last here. And I think Trax has us as pretty damn close, if I recall.
Well, I made a lineup change that made it closer than it was. Right now, I'm at 129.62. You're at 129.09.
All right.
The lineup change, I was a 3-point dog, but then I traded out actually Carson Wentz for Jared Goff. I'm starting Carson Wentz.
Ooh, okay. All right.
Well, look at this. It's either Carson Wentz against Seattle or Jared Goff against San Francisco.
Yeah, I'd probably go Wentz too. Yeah.
Yeah. So do we want to break down the opposite person's teams and then go back and defend our own teams, or how do you want to do this?
Let's just do it. Let's just do it as if they aren't even our teams necessarily. Let's just kind of do it like we've been doing it. Right. As unbiased as possible.
Correct. I go ahead.
Well, I like. I think the Cowboys are probably going to lose tomorrow. But like I said earlier, I think Herbert has a tough matchup at Washington. That's a very good defense. It is. And Dak is up against a pretty good defense, but I think Dak is going to be throwing a lot. And I think just purely based on fantasy value for week 1, I think I like Dak over Herbert.
My only concern is that is a major gruesome injury he came back from.
Yes, it was. But I've been watching Hard Knocks, and he looks okay.
Okay. Well, that's that. And I've not watched much. I'll be honest. I don't think I've watched a second of Hard Knocks or any previews.
It's pretty good, man. It's really made me love CeeDee Lamb. I'll tell you that much. Like I love me some CeeDee Lamb now after watching Hard Knocks. I liked him anyway, but he's a funny dude. But yeah, Dak he's running around okay. It's the arm I think that I'd be worried about more than anything. He had a bit of a shoulder.
Okay. So I'll give you the slight edge on the talent part. I'm just saying there is some caution with him in this first game. I will concede that Dak on paper looks better with the matchup and probably the game flow. It'll be a lot easier to throw on Tampa later, I think, than
That's not discounting Herbert. I mean, I still think Herbert's good. I think the Washington defense is really good.
Yep, it is.
And they're both on the road, but at least Dak is in they'll probably both be in pretty decent weather. But
Yeah.
Dak will be in Florida. He's been practicing in Texas, so he's used to the heat and humidity and stuff. So shouldn't be like too elemental much of a difference.
And I know it's only week 1, but I'm a big proponent, or I believe in that whole West Coast teams traveling to the East Coast and playing a noon game.
That's a long trip. Yeah, it's a long trip for an early game for Herbert. It's a tough defense.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I like Dak. I think I like Dak, not by a bunch, but give me Dak between the two. Give me Dak.
Okay, running back. I think I
have the obvious edge. Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to I didn't want to step on top, but I think I have the edge there. I know you're not. We talked earlier.
Is much better than both of mine. Robinson and Sanders might be a little more even than people think, but I think Gibson is going to be so much better than Jones that it's a clear edge to you in running backs.
Correct.
Yeah, especially with Eckler at flex. I mean, if you want to include Eckler in that, it's call it Gibson and Eckler, and it's your running backs are destroying me, and then the flex is maybe pretty even between Cooks and Sanders, but probably slight nod to Sanders.
I might even have my best running back in my flex, if you want to say it that way.
Oh, yeah, I think easily a lot of people would think so. And you even have Darrell Henderson, who, I mean, if you wanted to put Eckler in the Sanders spot, you could flex Henderson if he was known to be healthy. And, if you think the Rams are going to crush the Bears and end up running the ball a lot, maybe you do play Henderson. Either way, your running backs are far superior to mine.
The one thing that I have is, you call it game theory or whatever, but you have Dak and CeeDee Lamb going Thursday night.
Sure.
Depending on do I have a huge margin I need to make up, or do they just perform average, or do they shit the bed? Yeah. That could rotate who I play. Do I go?
You also have a lot of guys going at the 11 o'clock game or the noon game for you. You have more noon guys than late guys. So those are decisions that you will have to make early on Sunday at the very least.
I'm at the I'm in the air flying to Mexico.
Yeah, while you're going to Mexico.
My Wi-Fi. Yeah, I have to pay for Wi-Fi just to make sure I can get my lineup right. So. Well, and who's the other? Here's the other thing. And I could even start I have Trey Sermon. If they say he's the starter,
sure.
I have 5 legitimate running backs that I could roll out each week.
Wow, what's that like? I do not have that. Do not even have close to that.
I have a feeling I'm going to be trading some of them, at least one.
I would be shocked if you didn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think? Let me ask you what you think about. I know what I think. What do you think about the receivers?
You have the edge. I'm not even.
I think it's pretty even.
I think T. Higgins will be better than Tyler Boyd. That's just me. I think that's the case. I think DJ Chark. It's a dislocated finger that he's coming back from, or whatever.
He's a receiver. Yeah, he is a receiver.
He is a receiver. Now
the quarterback has a cannon for an arm.
Yeah, I'm switching these up. I'm doing the DJs versus the DJs. Then I'm moving CeeDee Lamb versus Mike Evans. So I'm going different lines. I think DJ Moore has the edge over DJ Chark. Revenge game factor again. I think Carolina just destroys the Jets. I think that you will see a lot more safety than you think with Trevor Lawrence. And I think you could see James Robinson getting 20 to 25 carries easily. And they just salt the game away. They just salt. That's my game theory behind it, is I think they salt the game away that way. I think Carolina doesn't care enough to score. CeeDee Lamb, I've said to a lot of people, I think he has an amazing future and is the best wide receiver by a mile in Dallas. They don't give that number 88, as I've always said, to anyone.
That's
because
true.
of what Irvin did. They specifically, like, if there's any team I think you can say in professional sports where the owner might have more power than the coach, it might be the Dallas Cowboys.
It's definitely the Cowboys, yeah.
And
definitely the Cowboys.
They don't hold that, 88, thing lightly. Like, people, that holds a very special spot in a lot of those Cowboy fans' hearts. And they gave it to CeeDee Lamb. Mike Evans, I thought I heard something today. There's some things going on with Godwin. Now, if Godwin's out or is limited, I think that's a huge upgrade, obviously, to Mike Evans.
Well, Evans has the ability to go off for huge games, really any
203 touchdowns.
Yeah, you're talking week winning, matchup winning games, 30, 35, 40-point games. Like he's going to have a few of those, it seems like, every year.
Would it even shock you if I said Mike Evans outscores CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott?
I think that's crazy, yeah.
But Mike Evans can have those crazy games too.
Yeah, he could, but that would be assuming that the Cowboys also do nothing. Like, what kind of game would it be where Evans goes off for that many yards and touchdowns, but where the Cowboys also aren't scoring?
Correct.
Because then you're assuming the Tampa has to throw a bunch, so somehow the Cowboys are scoring. Maybe it's Zeke. It could be Zeke, but yeah, okay. There's a greater than zero chance that Evans could outscore Dak and CeeDee.
Yeah,
but
that's all I'm saying.
I think that is crazy.
I'm not saying it's like a certainty, but it would be like, would it be, oh my God, fall out of your chair, shocking that Mike Evans goes off for 200 yards and 3 touchdowns? Because we know he does, and then the next week he won't score for like 6 weeks.
Yeah, he'll catch 3 balls on 5 targets for 78 yards and no touchdowns. Like, he's going to have those games too. But he is good for a couple every year where he really blows the doors off.
He will win, and he will win the week for you. He is worth at least, I'd say, 2 wins a year.
Yeah, probably. And on the right team, if the rest of the team is scrubs. But yeah, on a competent team, he's winning matchups.
I will also say you have the edge at tight end.
I hope so. And I went on a big limb taking Pitts in the 3rd, but I just didn't love anybody else there at the time, and I wanted to have him in a dynasty league. But I do think he's going to be pretty good out of the gate as well, and I do like him over Cole Kmet at least. So yeah, I would give the Chuds the nod there as well.
With Kmet, that was more of a year 2, 3, 4, 5 for me. Sure. Because Justin Fields is going to be there. Kmet was their 1st-round pick last year, and Jimmy Graham is not getting any younger. So Cole Kmet is their tight end for the future. It'll take my bumps and bruises this year, but in year 2, 3, 4, and 5, I think it'll pay off. He might not be as good as Kyle Pitts. I'm not saying that. I think Kyle Pitts still has the better career, but I'm pretty sure I invested like last 2 or 3 round investment in Kmet.
Yeah, he didn't cost you a 3rd-round pick like Pitts did.
No.
You pretty clearly have the flex.
Yeah.
The check mark next to the flex. We talked about Eckler earlier. Mine is Brandon Cooks, who might not be flashy, but you look at his last 6 seasons or whatever it is, he's 1,000 yards every year. He's 6, 7, 8 touchdowns every year. He's going to be a target hog on a pretty bad Texans team, but Tyrod's going to look for somebody, and Brandon Cooks is the veteran receiver that he's going to be looking to. Not that I think he's going to be a number 1 or anything, but I don't think it's crazy to think that Cooks could be a top 30 receiver. If everything goes right, I don't think that's terribly likely, but I think there's a path for him to be top 30 just on target share alone. But there's no question that it's Eckler in this matchup.
For me, I will say Brandon Cooks is the wide receiver version of Mike Davis. Getting back to come full circle there, because I think that was the first matchup. There's nobody behind Mike Davis. There's nobody behind Brandon Cooks.
Yeah.
There has to be someone to throw the ball to.
Because Cooks has done it for so many more years than Davis,
sure.
But I get what roster-wise and position-wise, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
In general, and the perception-wise, who was really talking about Brandon Cooks? Nobody.
Got him pretty late.
In a PPR league, I could think you could safely say 6 for 60 every week.
If he catches 6-7 balls for 80 yards and a touchdown, that's I would be ecstatic about that. That's 20 fantasy points. I mean, that'd be incredible. So,
and he has a safe floor.
Incredibly likely.
And I think he's going to be. You could even probably make the argument, Alan, he's their best offensive player.
They're full of crappy veterans. Cooks, David Johnson, Tyrod Taylor. These guys are cast-offs from other teams. It's a ragtag group.
He's probably going to get 2 to 4 end arounds a game, Cooks, or the Jets.
I think he's a lock for 130 or so, to lead the team in targets, by a long shot, assuming he stays healthy. And he hasn't missed that many games over the course of the last 5 or 6 years. I think there's a perception that he's kind of beat up, but he doesn't miss any time. He really doesn't. Just generally, I think. For the way I had to pick, I was always on the wheel, I had to either reach or I had to get great value. And I think when I took Cooks, I felt like I was getting some value just based on the amount of targets he's supposed to have. Obviously, it's a dynasty. He's kind of a little bit older than the younger. He's older than the younger guys. But
yes.
I think I at least like him for this year. I think he's going to be a target monster. But clearly, Eckler gives you the nod. There's no.
I will say, and I think we kind of already discussed the quarterback part. You obviously have the edge in the second one, the super flex part.
Yeah, I like Rodgers over.
We don't have to. There's nothing to say there. That's. I will give you probably the edge, about 5 to 7 points this week.
If my running backs can provide a somewhat reasonable floor. I think the quarterback can.
You have 3 guys going Thursday night. Ronald Jones.
Yeah, Ronald Jones. Yeah.
So
you're going to have
one receiver, and you'll have a wide receiver, a running back, and a quarterback.
Yeah, you're going to have a decent idea of what you're looking at come Sunday after I have 3 pretty big parts of my offense go on Thursday.
And do you have any guys? Let me see. I could look at this. You don't have anybody that plays later than noon, do you? Besides Rodgers.
Yeah, just Rodgers. Nobody I'm starting for sure.
I might make me. Oh God, I can't say I want to bench Miles Sanders either in that matchup because that could be a shootout. I might want to say, if I get the green light on Darrell Henderson, I mean, if that game goes as we think, that the Bears
they could end up running the ball a lot and just handing it off to him and Michelle and just letting them eat up the yards and the time and racking up points, while they do it. Not that the Bears are a slouch on D. The Bears have a good line, but
I just think
still just carries and touches or carries.
The Rams are a top 5 offense. I think we could all agree there.
I think they're a top defense, and I think they're a very good offense. I think Stafford's going to have a career year. I agree with Josh and Squibb that Robert Woods is in for, call it a career year. He's been very good, but he's never had the double-digit touchdowns. I think this is, if there's any year that Robert Woods is going to get double-digit touchdowns, it's probably this year.
And Cooper Kupp's not
Cooper
some
Kupp
nobody.
is great. Higbee is pretty good. Henderson has shown flashes of being good. He's also shown flashes of being kind of soft, I guess, injury prone.
But in that offense, it's almost like I'd almost compare it to like CEH and the Chiefs offense, where because you have such great talent.
Throw first. They're definitely a throw first, and with a decent running back. Yeah,
and you can get a lot of play action or whatever. So, anyways, I think we went a lot longer than we wanted to.
That's okay. But yeah, that's week 1 breakdown. You know, whoever watches it, I'm sure there's guys that will agree or disagree. If Josh or Squibb have any disagreements, I know we will hear about it. And I think most of the other guys are gonna watch. I think these get pretty much the entire league watching them. So, but yeah, and
I'm gonna try to sneak away and have when my wife and her sister are doing something sometime in the afternoon. Maybe we can meet up and I'll have a beach in my background and do
surrounded by bottles of empty free tequila. Yeah.
Yes.
That'll be the time to make a trade with you.
Yes. Next, because I can't trade.
Tony, I hear you have a bunch of running backs. How's that? How's that free drinks?
Yeah. Do they need to get you another? What's the worm? It's the worm, right? The worm.
Yeah, you gotta eat the worm. You gotta chew it up, get all the booze out, and then right before the podcast, you take a crap, you crap the booze out, and then you're good to go. So all right, man. Well, thanks for doing some week 1, and we'll do it again afterwards, and we'll see you maybe live from Mexico.
That's my goal. Yep, sounds good.
All right, man. Have a good week 1.
You too. Bye-bye.
Later.